listening to the Fayetteville 411 podcast produced by the City of Fayetteville, where you'll get information about city government and the programs and services we provide. You'll get topics of interest and an inside look into the various departments that help keep our city moving. I'm Sherry Kropp.
And I'm John Salling. Thanks for joining us for the Fayetteville 411. We have joining us today Andrew LaGala, Director of the Fayetteville Regional Airport. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
Very happy to have you. And now, I think our listeners are curious, Andrew, about what experience you bring to the team here with the city. Can you tell us some about what you've done and what brought you here?
Sure. I'll start with my background. So I started my career when I was about 19 years old, right out of high school. So I did get my pilot license when I was an older teen. And then my career path took me all the way to director. So I've always wanted to be an airport manager. And I started my career at Fort Lauderdale International Airport right out of high school. So I was there for about 7 years and, worked through the ranks there. I also went to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University to get my 4-year degree in aviation management. And then from there, I moved to Birmingham, Alabama. Was there for about a year and then moved to Tampa International. So I was there for about 17 years. I was the assistant director of ops there, and then for about 15 years. And then the remaining 2 years, I was real estate and commercial affairs, commercial airline affairs. And then from there, transferred to Lynchburg, Virginia, as the deputy airport director for about a year. Then I was a director there for 5 years. And now I am here in Fayetteville, and hopefully I can run my end of my career. I'm 31 plus years now, so really enjoy my career, and it's been a great career, very rewarding.
So you have a lot of experience under your belt.
I try. Yeah. We've got different size airports, large international airports. I've got small hub airports and also non-hub airports. So I have a good mix of different size airports.
Now, you said you started right after high school. What sparked your interest in the aviation field?
I've always wanted to be in aviation. I wanted to get my license when I was young, and I was fortunate as a young kid to get my pilot license when I was, I think, close to about 18 years old. But I knew I didn't want to be a pilot for my whole life. I didn't want to, be away from home. That was one thing I did not want. I wanted to stay in the industry. Of course, I wanted to be in the industry, see airplanes every day. And there's so many different career paths you can do in aviation, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But mine was always airport management because I wanted to be home at night, make sure I had dinner, with the family at night, but still got to see airplanes every day.
Sure. And now we're reaching about 90 days now. How are you feeling?
Feeling really good. The most important thing to me was getting to know my airport team. That was my goal for the first 90 days, to make sure I really know the airport team and the team we're working with. And we've got a fantastic, talented team, so really blessed to be able to spearhead that team. And then other things I'm really working on in my 90 days was really catching up on the airport master plan. That's really a big item that we need to make sure moving forward to the next 10, 20 years where we need to be in development. Reviewing through, of course, our budgets, right, because we're an enterprise fund, so we are completely independent when it comes to financing for the airport. Mm-hmm. And then of utmost importance as well is air service development. Definitely want to grow this airport. Looks like there's a lot of potential here. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well, but a lot going on in the first 90 days.
Right. And a lot has happened at the airport over the last 3 years. You came in at a great time. They were just finishing up some renovations at the airport. We've got a new exterior facade. We've got renovated concourse, a beautiful open rotunda that they put in there. So a lot of things, good things, have been happening over the last 3 years. Why don't you give us a brief overview of airport services and things that are happening there?
Yeah. Just to recap what you're saying there, I think the city has just spent well over $60 million when it comes to all the renovations. It was a 3-phase approach, and we just completed the 3rd phase now, which we expanded out our gate area near Gate 5. So that was ribbon cutting there just recently. So with that, we do have a bunch of companies that work at the airport, right? First and foremost, of course, are our airlines. We have American Airlines and Delta. We are looking to expand their services to different destinations as well. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But then we also have the rent-a-cars. Rent-a-car facility is doing really well. Our parking is doing really well. We have a lot of concessions on the airport, so people have food options as well. And then, of course, we have the general aviation, and our FBO, fixed base operator, handles all the corporate jets. and private aircraft owners as well. So we have a good mix of aircraft activity on the airport, not to mention, of course, our great partners with TSA and the Federal Aviation Administration when it comes to the air traffic control tower. So, we've got a great booming airport.
How many passengers fly out of Faye?
Yep, our airport's a non-hub size airport. Of course, we're regional, but we are a pretty strong regional airport. We do have close to a little over 300,000 total passengers. Inbound is a little over 150-ish, right around there, 1,000, along with our, enplanements, deplanements, both 150 both ways. So a little over 330,000 passengers a year.
And what airlines are we flying right now?
So right now we're flying American Airlines, and we do have, looks like we've recovered back to pre-pandemic levels. So we're up to 7 flights a day, which is great because they all go to Charlotte, and we can talk about those advantages. There's a lot of advantages there. And when it comes to Delta Airlines, we have American and we have Delta, and of course we have Sun Country that does charters to Atlantic City. But Delta Airlines, they obviously fly from here to Atlanta, and they've doubled their flight frequency out of Fayetteville over the past few months. We were supposed to get a 3rd flight in August and then a 4th flight in October, but the community was doing so well in August when they gave us the 3rd flight that they went ahead and gave us the 4th flight in September. And then I do meet with network planners on a regular basis, and we're hearing very good positive outcome that the passenger loads are strong and solid over 80%. So that's really positive when I sit at the table with the network planners to get more frequency.
And with some of these developments we have happening here, what are you most excited about? What are we seeing?
Yeah, the most developments I'm excited about is the air service development piece. As soon as I got here within the first month, I ended up in Green Bay working with network planners with airlines. I can't get too involved in all those details because it is competitive. But needless to say, the community should know that we're working really hard with American and Delta, continue our frequencies that we have, and continue to grow those frequencies as well. And then I'd like some new destinations as well. I mean, I'd like to see some other hubs, maybe one to the north somewhere up in New York, and then, of course, a destination maybe in the south somewhere in Florida. I would like to see us get back our Dulles flight because there's a lot of international travel, especially on the military piece. And then also I'd like to see if we can work on getting a northern hub to go west and Midwest, like, for instance, something like Chicago, because both American serves that, and love to see United come back. But we've got some, this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. The biggest thing I'm always working on is growing the airport, as I mentioned, the Air Service Development Program, along with the Air Service Incentive Program. Recently, Council generously approved $400,000 to help with incentivizing airlines to come and for a minimum revenue guarantee. So when I get to the table with these airlines, I actually have something to work with because there's other airports next to me that are coming with money as well, and I need to make sure we're ready at the table. But the biggest thing, too, I want the community to understand is air access and the importance of air access, how it's such a vital to any community, especially both business and for leisure travel. When it comes to business, air access is important is because, a lot of people say, why do we just go from here to Charlotte, or why do we only go here to Atlanta? Well, the point to that is I can fill an airplane all day long from here to Atlanta, and then you have 1,100 destinations to go worldwide once you get to Atlanta. Or if I get you to Charlotte, you have 725 destinations to go anywhere you can in the country and worldwide. To aviation, that is air access. That's important to business. It's important to headquarters, to making sure you can get, companies, leaders to get to your city with easy connectivity and access. That's on the business side of it. Then when you talk about the leisure side of it, you can get destinations from here to, let's say, Orlando, or here to New York or something like that, or here to Las Vegas, or whatever that is, which is great because we have enough people in the community that would do those destinations. But at the end of the day, those are leisure destinations, and they're not really connectivity and air access. So it's very important that I make sure we do a real good balance of both. Right now, we've got a great balance of air access when it comes to connectivity, and now I want to try to grow on the ultra low-cost carrier side because I know pricing is very important. The more seats we have, the more lower fares we have. It's not like I can go to an airline and say I need lower prices because they're looking at profit. So the only way we can kind of approach that is I need more seats. And when you get more seats, you have more lower cost buckets prices, and that's how you kind of handle that with the airlines. But I just want to make sure I put that out there, that it hasn't That's just a strategy that airports do use to help get
Yeah,
more service
yeah.
and lower fares.
And you explained that so well. I understand now because a lot of times we'll hear from people. They go to Raleigh because the flights are a little bit cheaper, tickets are a little bit cheaper, but that's because they have so many options there. So I'm glad you talked about that and explained that. But that brings me to another point. Talk about the advantages of flying out of Faye.
Yes.
And how convenient it is.
Great question. So that's the biggest thing is convenience. You can be, in the parking lot and out to the gate, and within 15 minutes, there's usually no wait at all, especially at the ticket counter. We do have smaller regional jets, but the fact that we have more frequency, you have more options throughout the day. So you get through the checkpoint, through the ticket counter pretty quick, which gets you right through the checkpoint really quick. And then you're at the gate and you got concession options. And, it's just a lot more of a better experience when it comes to no pressure and no stress when, longer queue lines. We just don't have that. Now, what I do like to grow is the ultra low cost carrier side and destinations for more leisure. So then we have more lower prices here at Fayetteville as well. And competition does spur that. So that's what I'm trying for.
Awesome.
And I don't know about you, John, but I would rather pay a little bit more for a ticket than have to drive to Raleigh for an hour and a half and fight the traffic, depending on what time. I mean, if you've got an
Depending on
early
what time.
flight, then you're getting up pretty early to make that.
We
that
do
trip
have some
there.
data that we do pitch to the low-cost carrier airlines that what we're trying to do is incentivize the airline to operate out of Fayetteville to get those people off the road and driving down to, let's say, Orlando and a family of 4, because it could get pricey when you pay for 4 airline tickets. But if you can get an ultra-low-cost carrier to understand that we can get these people off the road and actually enjoy the flight out of Fayetteville, they would prefer to do that than to drive for 8 or 10 hours.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I can say personally, I'm a native from Fayetteville. So I remember when the airport was, we didn't even have jet bridges there. You would walk out onto the tarmac and get onto the plane. Maybe I'm telling my age. I don't know. I'm old. Okay.
Seasoned, very.
I admit it. So just seeing all of the renovations and things that have taken place at the airport is so impressive, and I'm so proud of it. Yeah. So let's talk about a recent report that came out from the State of Aviation, from NCDOT Aviation Division, talking about the economic impact here in Fayetteville. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that was a great report that just came out. Us airport directors got a glimpse of it just before it went out total public this week. And we were really pleased. The commercial service airport directors for North Carolina did get on a call together with the state. We had really good response from that. So you could see on Fayetteville here, I mean, our economic impact for this airport is well over $829 million. That's
Amazing.
indirect, direct, and then other things as well. But I mean, when it comes to tax revenue, there's definitely $49 million in tax revenues. We have well over $277 million in personal income that's derived from the airport. And then, we have a lot of operations out of this airport, well over 32,000 airplane operations a year. So
A lot of
a lot of
jobs
activity,
created.
a lot of jobs
Wow.
created.
That's impressive.
Absolutely. And those numbers went up from 2023, which was the last report that was out.
Sure. Awesome. And for you, what when you see reports like that come out, what are the big items that you pay attention to?
It's what's really important is making sure that the airport's growing. If the airport's growing, it is the biggest economic engine in the city and in the region, and I'm very keen to that. And the goal is to continue to grow the airport, and the way to grow the airport is to continue growing airline service. And then also other businesses as well on the airport, and just continue to grow organically as well, because the more the airport grows, the more economic impact it has in the entire region.
So, Andrew, you talked about you had an interest in aviation at a very young age, and when you went into that field. And over the years, we've seen kind of a shortage in the aviation field. And I know at the airport over the last few years, you've held an ACE Academy, which is an NCDOT grant-funded program. Talk about that.
Yeah, that's actually a great question. Let me back up a little bit on answering that. So you're right. As Fayetteville and other airports throughout the country, when we came through the pandemic, we lost a lot of people in the industry. And particularly, there was mechanics and pilots and flight crews and all that, and early retirements. And, you just don't replace those positions overnight. Those take a lot of training and a lot of hours of, to get all your licenses and stuff. So fast forward a little bit, one thing airports do on a regular basis, we really reach out to the community. We get out to the community, get the community engaged with the airport, let them know it is their airport. One of the things we do is we continue to actually not only go to high schools, but we go to middle schools as well, because that's where we really got to capture those individuals. We got to get them before they're in high school, because most of them in high school have already made their minds up where they kind of want to go. But we want to get them a taste of the industry. And like you said, the Aviation Career Education Academy, the ACE program, is a great program that we've been doing here for a few years. As a matter of fact, the airport deputy director, Mr. Deontay Watson, does a great job along with our marketing team, working with these students and getting them really engaged on all the different careers that are at the airport. You speak to these young up-and-coming generation, and you let them know that it's more than just pilots. It's more than just mechanics or flight attendants. I mean, there's a plethora of positions. You've got, when it comes to like power, the engine itself, when it comes to, power plant, that's what I meant to say.
Yes.
That's very technical. You got airframe and you got avionics. I mean, we can just keep on going, all the different types of aviation careers, air traffic control, and and you got the whole corporate world as well. I mean, you could just go on and on. So that a lot of times the community and the young kids don't know of all the different jobs. When you talk about airports, They just think pilots or air traffic controller, and that's pretty much all they know. But there's a lot of high-paying jobs when it comes to the aviation industry, and those are just to name a few of them. But with that, we also like welcoming airport tours, because we want them to get a flavor and a taste of what the airport looks like. Let's take them around. Let's show them that there's TSA, and you can be a screening person to, screen passengers as well, or work in the terminal. There's concessionaires and rent-a-cars. I mean, there's so many different types of jobs you can do at the airport. But the biggest thing is to make sure we introduce the local schools and the students, to the aerospace workforce, because that's one thing that we need to make sure we keep in this industry, is the workforce coming in after us.
What upcoming for the airport that we're excited about?
Yeah, great question. So of recently, we were given $5 million in federal dollars to assist with growing the international terminal. So as I mentioned earlier, we're working on a master plan narrative with a consultant right now that's going out to RFP. Once we get that master plan narrative, it's going to kind of help us frame how we want to build and develop that international piece. Now, whether it is a whole new international terminal or possibly one of the jet bridges that we have right now that we're not fully utilizing, how do we make that a domestic and international gate as well, where we can do both international and domestic use out of it, and then see if we can stretch our dollars a whole lot farther when it comes to the international piece, so we don't have to put so much local dollars into it, but still be able to have the international access and capability here at Fayetteville. So that's the next thing that we're going to be working at as well on the capital development side.
Well, awesome. I'm looking forward to what you can bring to Fayetteville here in the next year and the years to come.
Absolutely. I'm excited to do it.
Well, and that wraps it up for this episode of the Fayetteville 411. The Fayetteville 411 is one of several podcasts that the city produces for our podcast channel, Radio Fayetteville. Be sure to subscribe to Radio Fayetteville, available on most of your favorite podcast streaming platforms.
You can also listen to every podcast that Radio Fayetteville has to offer by downloading the Fay TV streaming app, available now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV. You can view all of our video content by visiting faytv.net. And to get information about city services, go to our webpage at fayetteville.nc.gov. Thanks for joining us.